Imagine this. You wake up in the morning, go to the store, and there are no prices. None at all. You take bread, milk, meat, and just leave. You don't pay. This is not theft. This is the norm. Money has been abolished. Sounds like a utopia? Or like madness? Now imagine that this is not fiction. This really happened. Several times in history, entire countries and communities tried to completely abandon money. To build a world where there are no rich and no poor, where everyone receives according to their needs and gives according to their abilities. And every time something went wrong. Today we will break down the largest experiments in abolishing money, from ancient civilizations to the 20th century. Why did people again and again try to get rid of money? And why did these attempts always ended the same way? But before talking about abolishing money, let us understand why it appeared at all. We are used to thinking that before money there was barter. You give me a cow, I give you 10 sacks of grain. But archaeologists and anthropologists say this is a myth. In real ancient societies, people did not bargain with each other, they shared. They lived in communities where everything was common: food, tools, housing. And it worked for thousands of years. As long as communities were small, a few dozen people, maybe 100, everyone knew everyone else. If you did not share, everyone could see it. Social pressure was stronger than any law. But then agriculture happened. People settled down. Cities appeared. And now, thousands of strangers live in one settlement. How do you share with someone you do not know? How do you trust them? How do you understand how much you owe society and how much society owes you? Money is a tool for coordination between strangers, a universal language of exchange. You might not know the baker, you might not trust them, but if you have money and they have bread, the transaction happens. And here begins the conflict that runs through all of history. On one hand, money gives freedom, allows trade, development, and specialization. On the other hand, it creates inequality. Rich and poor emerge. Those with lots of money gain power over those with little. And every time this inequality becomes unbearable, people start to dream. What if we simply abolished money? Return to that primordial paradise where everyone shared. This dream is ancient. Plato, in the Republic, wrote about rulers forbidden from owning property. Early Christians lived in communes. Thomas More described utopia where there is no private property. But dreaming is one thing. Trying is something else entirely. Let's look at the three largest experiments. Experiment 1, the Inca Empire, 15th, 16th century, South America. A vast empire, from what is now Colombia to Chile. 10 million people, and no money at all. How did it work? Everything belonged to the state: land, livestock, crops. Every adult man was required to work a certain number of days for the state. This was called mita. They built roads, temples, fought in wars. In return, the state guaranteed you wouldn't starve. Massive storehouses, kulka, kept food reserves for bad harvests. There were no markets as we understand them, no merchants. Officials distributed resources through a complex accounting system, quipu, those knotted strings. Did it work? In a sense, yes. The empire lasted about 100 years, built 25,000 kilometers of roads, and fed millions. Experiment 2, the Paris Commune, 1871. France lost the war against Prussia. Paris was under siege, starving, humiliated. And then, a revolt. Workers and artisans seized power. For 72 days, Paris became a self-governing city. They didn't have time to abolish money completely, it was too short, but they moved in that direction. They canceled rent payments, banned production fines, closed pawn shops and returned pledged goods for free, introduced a moratorium on debts. The idea was, first, eliminate exploitation, then, money itself. Experiment 3, War Communism in Soviet Russia, 1918 to 1921. This was the largest attempt, a whole country, 150 million people. After the revolution, chaos, civil war, industry destroyed. The Bolsheviks decided, since the economy is already in ruins, let's build communism right now, without money. What did they do? They nationalized everything: factories, banks, land. Private trade was banned. Prodrazvyorska was introduced. Grain taken from peasants in exchange for nothing. Or almost nothing. Paper money was printed in such quantities that it lost value by millions of times. Wages were paid in rations. Public transport, mail, utilities became free. Lenin and Trotsky seriously discussed, Soon, money would die completely. Some economists proposed replacing money with labor units. The hours you worked would determine your right to consume. Now, what happened to each of these experiments? The Incas. The empire did not collapse because of internal problems. It was destroyed by the Spanish conquistadors. Pizarro's 168 men defeated a million-strong empire. How? Partly disease, partly technology, but also the structure of society itself. When everything is centralized, cutting off the head is enough, and the body falls apart. Atahualpa was captured, and no one knew what to do. There were no distributed centers of power, no merchants who could organize resistance. The entire system was tied to a single point. And one more thing, the absence of markets meant the absence of flexibility. If an official decided your village needed a certain amount of corn, you got exactly that. No more, no less. Even if you needed something else. The Paris Commune. 72 days, and it was over. The army from Versailles entered the city. The bloody week. 30,000 killed. Participants were shot, exiled, destroyed. The experiment was too short to judge the economic model. But one lesson is obvious. An isolated island of a moneyless economy cannot exist in a hostile environment. The commune was under blockade. It could not trade, it could not buy weapons, food, or medicine. Soviet Russia. Here, the consequences fully unfolded. By 1921, the country was in catastrophe. Industrial production fell to 20% of the pre-war level. Famine. 5 million dead. Peasant uprisings across the country. The Tambov Uprising, Western Siberia. The Kronstadt Rebellion. Sailors, the backbone of the revolution, rising against the Bolsheviks. Why? Grain requisition destroyed incentives. Why grow more if it will be taken anyway? Peasants began hiding grain, reducing sowing. Without normal money, it was impossible to understand what to produce. Prices are information. Remove prices, remove information. The economy goes blind. The black market flourished. Officially, trade was banned, but people traded anyway. Bagmen appeared, people who traveled across the country exchanging urban goods for rural food, illegally, at the risk of arrest. Lenin admitted, "We went further than circumstances allowed." In 1921, the NEP, the new economic policy, was introduced. Private trade, small business, and real money returned. A retreat. So, can people live without money? History answers, yes, but only under very specific conditions. A small community where everyone knows each other. Or a totalitarian state where centralized control replaces market mechanisms. Or a very short period of extreme emergency. In all other cases, money comes back, either officially or through the black market. Because money is not just paper. It is a coordination technology, a way for millions of strangers to cooperate without violence. But here is what is interesting. Today we are on the edge of a new transformation. Not the abolition of money, but its mutation. Cryptocurrencies, central bank digital currencies, social credit systems. Some say blockchain will allow a society without banks. Others say artificial intelligence will be able to allocate resources better than markets. Others argue that universal basic income will separate work from survival. The old question, can we live without money, is turning into a new one. What kind of money do we want? And here the stories of the Incas, the Communards, and the Bolsheviks are not museum exhibits. They are warnings. Abolishing one coordination mechanism without creating a working alternative leads either to chaos or to tyranny. Money is an imperfect tool. It creates inequality, enables exploitation, turns everything into a commodity. But so far, we have not invented anything better that allows billions of strangers to cooperate. Maybe one day we will. But history teaches one lesson clearly. Be careful with experiments on living people. Thank you for watching till the end. If you found it interesting, subscribe and leave a like. Next time, we'll talk about investments. See you.